the freedom of the Iraqi people overseas during George W. Bush's war. Well, in turn, really, Dick Cheney's agenda, because we know it took Dick Cheney Halliburton, where he served as an executive in that. It is a fine company, but brought all his friends over there after the United States invaded. And it took years and years, and what was classic Mesopotamia, many of those artifacts and civilization simply destroyed for the globalist neocon neoliberal agenda. We know it took President Trump 20 minutes, including one female B-2 bomber, to take out the nuclear program in Iran. Much different approach as peace was immediately achieved. Now, granted, roughly 20 years or so later, I'll get to my point. I was very upset yesterday to see Tammy Duckworth, someone you think that would be on the side of President Trump for peace and calling for that. She once did. Instead, railing off in a bizarre critique of the president's peace agenda and saying that he's on the side of the Russians. We've heard that before, right off of the Chicago River, the beautiful, ornate part of my hometown. While sirens wailing in the background. Oh, there's nothing to see here other than the communists lined up, whether it's Raja Krishnamurthy to Lieutenant Governor Stratton. They all want Dick Durbin's job. They want to be United States senators as well and bring that communist manifesto even further. And it's not an exaggeration. If you're just tuning in now, look at what they believe in. Look at their policies. Governor Jelly Belly Pritzker, someone who failed at his family business, was kicked out, and somehow, because of his roughly $3.9 billion in wealth, all inherited by the Hyatt fortune, bought his way to governor of Illinois. Someone who endorsed Fair Maps and then claimed a kindergartner drew them while he was visiting Stephen Colbert, who we give our regards. He'll be canceled in May of 2026. Goes on a comedy show. I mean, think about that. And says a kindergartner drew it when his Democrat lobbyist did that himself, and he signed those lines into law back in 2021. Oh, but he believes in fair maps for a whole state that 45% voted for Donald John Trump for president. Only 3 Republicans represent them in Congress. Over 83% of the representation is Democrat. Interesting how it works in Washington, D.C., and in some of the blue areas in this great country of ours. But you think someone like Senator Tammy Duckworth would actually believe in the peace agenda, would not try to skew that, but no. She's simply bought and paid for by the war class and by the neocon and neoliberal globalist agenda that is dying and really taking its last breaths day after day after day. But if you've been watching this broadcast since 9 o'clock this morning, you know, with great guests like Jim Paff saying that, God forbid, if there's the current Democrat with that mentality rises to the auto pen status and does become president of the United States, and you think of those people like a Pritzker or Newsom or Buttigieg, really any one of these leading candidates, they will bring those policies back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. An anti-constitutionalist, anti-rule of law, big government grab that simply says do this or else while their cities and their states burn to the ground. It's a mentality from the post-COVID, the George Floyd agenda that took place during those riots, the Summer of Love 2020. And how do you prevent that? You do things like people are doing today next door to us in Opelika, Alabama, running for office. It's election day, this August 26th, and that's how you prevent a big government grab. It's within your own community. Our founders were smart enough to recognize that, to say human nature is as such that men are corruptible. It's a sad reality. None of us are perfect. Only one person was perfect who ever walked this earth. His name is Jesus Christ, and he is still alive and well and sovereign. But there's a fallen nature to humanity. And in those cases, we've seen extreme forms of government, especially in the 20th century. And for an ideology that was destroyed thanks to brave young men and women in the greatest generation to silence fascism and ultimately communism through force because we were forced into the arena, those great individuals did not back down. So the question is for you today, you were born for such a time as this. And answering the question as to why were you born for such a time as this, I believe the viewers here can answer that question. And whether it's military service, public service, what you do in your everyday job, to your vocation, whether as a single person, married, or in religious clergy, whatever it might be, you have your role to play. And it affects not only the federal city, but your neck of the woods in this great constitutional republic of ours, for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And because of that, you should have the medical freedom to choose where your medications are coming from and what kind of medications you ought to take. And it's ivermectin. Mebendazole now 25% off thanks to Michael Kunzler, the great co-owner of our friends at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So you have that and life-saving medication, including NAD plus to methylene blue, and over 200 essential medications that can protect you from bacterial and viral infections. Also, emergency medical kits and antibiotics that will get the job done. So think about this. You have the PBMs that President Trump has gone after. It's insurance companies that also buy into the pharmaceuticals and control the pharmacy down the street from you. Talk about double dipping, but it happens. We've seen that here in America. And because of right to try and because of the executive orders President Trump has signed recently, you should have the ability to have life-saving medication that's been on the market for over 50 years. So it's no red tape, no insurance, simply medical freedom. Ivermectin, mebendazole, now 25% off, thanks to our great sponsors at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code now and go to code RSBN10, which will give you an additional 10% off of everything and anything on the site. So it takes 2 to 3 days. Order today, and you'll get this life-saving medication to your door. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And how about calshi.com/RSBN? Questions like a bilateral meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky. We know both gentlemen meeting with President Donald Trump over the course of the last several days, whether it be European leaders at the White House to the Anchorage, Alaska summit. Pursuing peace is the mantra. So who will win the Nobel Peace Prize? The shining token of Oslo, Norway, a beautiful place in this fair world of ours. I think Donald Trump is right up there as a leading candidate, whether it's Congressman Carter to Congresswoman Tenney, both of Georgia and New York respectively, to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, to the government of Pakistan, to 70,000 Cambodian Buddhist monks. Think about that. All of them have something in common. They have nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. And although the legacy media, and in some cases rightfully so, but in many cases only covering Russia and Ukraine, if he's able to achieve that, Hillary Clinton and John Brennan, of all people, both said they would put their names onto that list. Although there's always a double standard for President Trump. I mean, think about all of the places he's made peace, but regardless, this would be the ultimate crown jewel. So scan that QR code now, calshi.com/RSBN. Trade literally on anything, whether it's the Los Angeles Dodgers repeating the World Series as the Florida Panthers did in the National Hockey League with the Stanley Cup. You can trade and bet on sports, music, culture, politics, and much more. Anything that is relevant here in the United States of America. calshi.com/RSBN. And let's talk for a moment on that piece. Whether it's Rwanda and the Congo, to Cambodia and Thailand, the Korean Peninsula, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, and now Russia and Ukraine. This president is pursuing peace. And what brings that peace to the table? It's the use of tariffs, or preventing someone from coming into the American markets, something that's much needed for countless different nations to prosper. And that's what President Trump wants, using really the true capitalist argument of free and fair trade in order to bring about that peace. The greatest success in regards to simply from a large scale of that, $600 billion in a new trade deal with a 15% threshold of Europeans entering the American markets. And the European Union president admitting at Trump Turnberry in Scotland, yes, it has been unfair. Europe has taken advantage of the United States. And between the United States and Europe, which will be competing at the end of September in the Ryder Cup, a timeless golf competition at Bethpage Black in the Empire State of New York. Be sure to catch all of that amazing coverage. These are the two largest economies in the world. So they agreed to $600 billion in trading to benefit both continents and the United States specifically, but $720 billion in energy agreements as well, because there was an energy element of all this. Remember, the AutoPen canceled the Keystone pipeline coming from Alaska through the Western Yukon territories down through British Columbia and Alberta into the United States. And the former governor of Canada, the communist himself, Justin Trudeau, on his knees begging President Biden, please, please, please put this back online for Canadian jobs. Even the big government socialist like him wanted that energy flow throughout the United States and Canada. And the kicker in that one was, this is the best part. Remember the green agenda, the Green New Scam and all of that? They said, oh, affect the caribou and all the animals that were living in that beautiful wilderness, God's country, truly. Now the photos of the caribou who actually were leaning up against the pipeline during the Trump first term because of the warmth. I always get a kick out of far left globalists. You have to laugh at them, and they don't like being laughed at because they're always right. And especially when it comes to bird killers and those windmills, the plastic that can't be recycled. And for some reason, the Chinese Communist Party, through the use of GE, a once great American company, General Electric produces these things, and they go to these farmers, these lands, something that Senator Tuberville talked about on this show, that 2.2 million acres of Alabama, that farmland owned by the Chinese Communist Party. But thank God we have strong Republican leadership changing that throughout the country. But I've mentioned it countless times. When I drive from Atlanta to Chicago and back, go through the crossroads of Indiana, crossroads of America, and that beautiful state, the Hoosier state. So many of those private farmlands, those farmers had to sell to the bird killers. And these plastic alleged energy boosters that cost way too much money, you can't recycle them, they come from China. And China doesn't use them. And they keep polluting and putting up smog in the atmosphere. It's an amazing thing to think about as we analyze the news and events of the day, this August 26, 2025, a beautiful Tuesday morning. We hope you're enjoying a little bit of the cold front wherever you are. It was a nice morning here down in Alabama. I know the Midwest is enjoying that as well as we look at a bright, sunshiny day at Pebble Beach. That's what they call those green tarps there, where our media colleagues await press conferences with the President of the United States to the superstar Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, among others, including gaggle from the different cabinet members that can happen right outside there as we wait for that cabinet meeting. It is the anniversary of Abbey Gate, where 13 U.S. service members and 170 Afghan civilians lost their lives thanks to a terrorist attack, all at the feckless weakness of the last administration. And those people, those family members, were never contacted by the last administration, but President Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, all making sure to right those wrongs with a full investigation now taking place of our military as a result of what happened 4 years ago today. In case you missed it, here is that video playback of President Trump honoring the victims from 4 years ago today.
Thank you very much. This is a very special group of people. I've been with them from the beginning. Abbey Gate, Abbey Gate, one of the dumbest days in the history of our country by a previous administration. getting out of a place that we shouldn't have been. At a minimum, they should have been at Bagram, the big field, where we have hundreds of acres around it. Nobody's going to get near it. They left from a small airfield, and the consequences were horrible. And these people have been my friends, have been with me, and I've been with them 100%. And we meet more than once a year, actually. I think our all-time meeting was in Bedminster when we played music, right?
Yeah.
Late into the night. They thought I'd be there maybe for 5 minutes, maybe not at all, and I showed up for like 4 hours. We're listening to music all night long, and they were all crying because they lost their loved ones. But it's 4 years. It's a 4-year anniversary. So we're signing a proclamation honoring them and honoring you and honoring your loved one. And so sad and so unnecessary. And what people don't know, there were a lot of other people killed from the other side. I call that, people killed. And the people that we also contact we have like 32, maybe more, but approximately 32 who lost their arms and their legs. And your kids didn't make it, they made it, but boy, they got to go through hell. And we have 32, at a minimum 32. And then you had hundreds of people killed overall. You had hundreds of people killed that day. That was a rough day. We had 13 of our great ones, right?
Yes, sir.
And somehow this group is just, we get together every once in a while. So I just want to thank you. We're 4 years now into this nightmare. We're just a nightmare. I think that date also helped start the war with Putin and Ukraine, because he saw how incompetent our military was under Biden and under Milley and all these dopey people. And that's not our military. You see what our military is now. We knock the hell out of people if we have to, or we settle because they don't want to play games with us. But I just want to say I'm really honored to be with you again, and we'll be with each other for a long time. And your loved ones are looking down, and they're very proud. This is the new and improved Oval Office. We had an Oval Office, which was still the Oval Office, so I don't want to disrespect it, but now it's very special. You see what's happened, and everyone loves it. It's all the real deal, 24-karat gold, and people come from all over, and I do believe they're serious. They're not rolling their eyes, the roller of the eyes, but we don't have any of them. And we brought the pictures up. They were in the vaults. Those are pictures of some of our great presidents, a lot of them, and they were in the vaults for over 100 years in many cases. And they were just there. Beautiful pictures, works of art. Lincoln, Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson. That's Monroe of the Monroe Document. All mostly great presidents. We have a couple of none. You have Benjamin Franklin, not a president, but we figured he'd make the cut. I would say, he discovered electricity, a couple of other things. But we have a lot of great presidents. But think of it, they've been down there. There's George Washington, the big one. They've been down there for, in some cases, much more than 100 years, and we brought them out. I went through the vaults myself. I spent hours down there looking. That's in between Russia, Ukraine, China, all the other stuff. We do it. I want to thank Doug Collins for being here, the secretary, who's done an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. And JD, thank you very much. You've been fantastic. And all of the others. Pete, good. We did a little thing with Pete about Secretary of War today, and it seemed to be well received. We'll do it a couple of more times, and if everyone likes it, we'll make that change, Pete. You'll decide. But I just want to thank everybody for being here. Very special to me. A very special day. 4 years is a very special time, and now it's lightening up, but it'll never be really light. But there are some great souls that are looking down on you right now, and they're very proud of their parents and brothers and sisters, and but moms and dads especially. That's what I seem to have dealt with mostly. There's nothing tougher. So thank you very much. In the media, I want to thank you because you've been very respectful of this group of people, and they deserve it. They went through hell for no reason. It should have never happened. And I'm going to sign the proclamation now, and we will have a very special proclamation done and completed. Okay? Oh, that's a good one. That's our good one. We rate them. I don't put them under the auto pen. I don't say, here, have the auto pen sign it, right? We don't do that. I don't know how anybody was allowed to do that. They actually weren't. Good one, right? You asked a couple of good questions today. It's been very fair, actually. Okay? Do you have any questions on this subject, please?
Mr. President,
Yes.
the Defense Secretary has ordered a review of Afghanistan withdrawal that is ongoing. I'm curious if you have any update on that review. And then for the families, I know that there was frustration with previous investigations on Capitol Hill. Are you satisfied with the speed of this investigation thus far?
Pete, do you want to answer that?
Yes, sir. On behalf of this beautiful group, on behalf of these families, on behalf of your loved ones who fought for our nation, America deserves answers as far as what happened in Afghanistan. The military needs to answer for what happened in Afghanistan. So upon the President's direction, immediately we initiated an investigation which showed that there needed an even deeper dive. So Sean Parnell, our Pentagon spokesman, who himself is an Afghanistan veteran, is leading this effort. It's a top priority for us. We're getting access to all documents necessary, why decisions were made, why they weren't made, why certain force protection measures were ignored. Again, there's never been accountability for this. It's something that Joe Biden allowed to happen that never should have happened. Any objective observer knows that's not how you leave a country, and certainly these families know better than anyone else. These families deserve answers. We're going to be honest about it. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Sean Parnell, an Afghanistan vet, is leading it, and we're doing it on behalf of the American people. So I would anticipate middle of 2026. That's how thorough of a review we're doing. Hopefully a little bit sooner, but we're going into everything to get an understanding of what happened.
So we remember these great 13 souls, but we also remember the people that were so badly injured, our soldiers, 32 of them approximately. And we're in contact with them always also, but they lost arms and legs, and their faces were blown to pieces, and they're incredible, and they suffer with it. And so we understand that. It should have never happened, should have never been allowed to have happened. And they were in the wrong place. Bagram was the place to be. Big, massive airfield with hundreds of acres surrounding it. Nobody could get near it. And who would not have done that? But we had a bunch of incompetent people running our country. So we are going to talk for a little while. We'll talk about people that I've gotten to know, the sons and daughters and others that died. And there were hundreds of people that died that day, hundreds, many from the other side, needlessly also. They did nothing to hurt anybody. But that was a terrible day, and I think it was the worst day, and in many ways the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. And yet, at the same time, we learned so much that it's, we call it a big lesson. It won't happen again. A thing like that can never be allowed to happen again. Doug, would you like to say something, please? You've been so fantastic at the VA. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President. For these families here, I think you expressed the nation's grief of what happened, and we saw just a tragic mistake that was there. Someone who has been in the military. I was in Iraq and others, but Afghanistan, when you saw that withdrawal, but what you suffered and went through. And for those that you've mentioned, Mr. President, who are injured, who took the VA, the Department of Defense, we're taking care of those folks, and we're going to continue to do so at your direction. But with the families, it's just one of those times. It's a place that never goes away. But I know from this president is he's made a commitment that that memory will not be forgotten, and the cabinet understands that, and our American people understand that because of what you've done.
And this is actually our biggest gathering today. So you must have heard Oval Office, and you said, I want to get there and be with Trump in the Oval Office. But it is a special place. But this is our biggest gathering in terms of the numbers, everybody here, because there was always somebody couldn't be, everybody's here. And it's a great honor. I think it's a great honor. JD, do you want to say a couple of words, please?
Oh, sir, I just echo what you said. We're so honored to have all of you here. I know that days like today can't make the hurt go away, but hopefully 4 years on, we can start to remember with fondness and with a little bit of joy the people that were taken from us. We're so proud of you. We're so proud of your loved ones for giving their life for our country. And I think importantly today, this is a rectification of a wrong. The fact that the President of the United States lost your loved ones through incompetence, but never acknowledged it and your government never actually put pen to paper to say, we're grateful for your sacrifice, we correct that wrong today, and we're going to keep on fighting to understand, as Pete said, what happened so it never happens to another family again. But God love you all. God bless you. We're so thrilled to have you here in the People's Oval Office.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I don't think they ever heard from Biden or anybody, did they ever? You never speak to nobody ever even called you. It's a terrible thing we suffered through for 4 years, so needlessly, yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask about veterans, and I wanted to say I'm so sorry for all of your loss. And I know we've covered it in the media, but I can't imagine what you all have been through, and thank you for being here. I wanted to ask, just on behalf of those veterans who served in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I know we talked about this in the Oval previously,
did a great
about
job.
making sure care for those, for example, exposed to burn pits while serving,
Yeah.
making sure that they have the care. Are you considering maybe a streamlined service like the World Trade Center healthcare program, and maybe the Veterans Secretary can comment too, but are you considering something like that to make sure, because it seems
We're
like they're
considering a
struggling
lot
to
of
get
things.
care?
We take care of our vets. Nobody loves our vets more than me, and we take good care of our vets, great care of our vets. Do you want to just say a couple of words about what we're doing, Doug, please?
Yeah, I should, Mr. President, and through the PACT Act and through others with the burn pit, which is something I've been under as well. We're streamlining following the Congress direction, but we're also adding more services. We've included a lot who have applied. We're also streamlining our backlog under President Trump's direction. Also, we took that backlog that was under President Biden was up at over 260,000. We're down now, Mr. President, I get to tell you that under 150,000 in just a little over 6 months. So we're making sure that what was bogged up in a bureaucratic system, we're streamlining it so they get that care quicker, and we're making sure that it is what they need. And then we're also doing that in our hospitals as well, so they get that care quicker, and not only in our hospitals, but in our community as well. That's been the biggest difference. We're about the veteran at VA, not about the bureaucracy, so we are making progress there.
And the VA has a 93% approval rating. It was down in the low 40s when we did. So I had pretty close to that in the first term. We had a great first term, and it was pretty close to that. And then they took over, and it went down into the 30s and 20s and 40s. But it went down at one point to 28 or 29%, which is terrible. They gave away choice and accountability. Choice meaning you have the way to, as a veteran, you can go and you can choose who your doctor is, et cetera, et cetera. They gave that up. And accountability is getting rid of the people that were sadists and really bad people that abused our veterans and really badly abused them. And they got rid of both of them, and we put them back. I couldn't believe when they did it. And anyway, but we're now, you've blown everybody away, Doug, at 93%. So we're 93% approval for our vets. And I like that, so that's good.
And President Trump there with the Vice President and Secretary of Defense, also Secretary Doug Collins at Veterans Affairs, just reminiscing over this 4 years of a failed, incompetent auto pen administration that led to the Abbeygate scandal. Our thoughts and prayers with the 13 U.S. service members who lost their lives and the family members there who are still looking for answers, as President Trump has directed. And Sean Parnell, the deputy at the Pentagon, per the order of the president and the enactment of the Pentagon chief, we'll hopefully have some clarity and answers as to why that operation was ultimately conducted to exit in such a callous manner and leading to the deaths and destruction of countless civilians, 170 in fact in Afghanistan, and again 13 United States service members. So our hearts, thoughts, prayers all with those who were behind President Trump just yesterday to commemorate and declare that memorial on this day, this Abbeygate Day on August 26. We await at this high noon hour President Trump to hold a cabinet meeting. Sometimes it's difficult to get everyone who is at the head of the executive branch in the White House all at one time. They're busy people who will be describing a number of different items that they are working on. Perhaps the most transparent and accessible administration in modern American history. Truly a group of people that are professionals and bringing their expertise, and many of them on several occasions either facing the full weight of the intelligence community, as the Palestinian Senator Chuck Schumer put it. They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting at you if they want you. And we know the Russia hoax that's still being perpetrated by people like Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois just yesterday, claiming that President Trump is in President Putin's pocket, and that for some reason dialogue and discussion should not be happening. Yeah, it does not make a lot of sense, but again, it's the globalist, neocon, neoliberal agenda trying to stand up to this, but we know people like Peter Navarro served in jail because of economic populism, because he was on the right side of history. We know Tulsi Gabbard was investigated. My goodness, the Clintons went after her and consider her to be a threat to democracy. That's always the line, right? Threat to democracy. No, I think it's just a threat to those who are exposed in their extreme positions and can lose elections as a result. And God forbid if any of these individuals, like a J.B. Pritzker, becomes president, because we know that they are not only extraordinarily self-serving, but they simply cannot do the job that this president has been able on countless different items to achieve. Let's check in on the First Lady, Melania Trump, her office launching a nationwide presidential AI challenge. The First Lady, Melania Trump, announcing that via the White House. The Presidential Artificial Intelligence Challenge, inviting K through 12 students and educators across America to participate. And the First Lady commenting that the Presidential AI Challenge will be the first step in preparing our next generation with a base understanding of this important new technology. Now, in a recent video on AI.gov, she reflected on her own experience with artificial intelligence and how its creative nature can turn into things like audiobooks, like her audiobook, Melania, a great read if you're looking for another book to perhaps peruse as we get closer to the fall months, emphasizing the transformative potential and inherent risks of the technology. Remember the Take It Down Act, a nearly bipartisan act in 2025, thanks to the work of our First Lady, Melania Trump. She continued stating that in a few short years, artificial intelligence will be the engine driving every business sector across our economy. It is important that America leads the rest of the world, and through initiatives like the Presidential AI Challenge, Mrs. Trump aims to empower the next generation to explore and innovate within this rapidly evolving field. Now, to watch the video and learn more on all this, all you do is simply visit ai.gov/initiatives/presidential-challenge. So once again, ai.gov/initiatives/presidential-challenge. So be sure to visit that as the Presidential AI Challenge underway through the First Lady's office. And it's good to have a great First Lady in office as well. It's not just the president, but the person that he chooses to spend his life with. As he signed that proclamation yesterday that you saw with those to honor the Abbeygate tragedy, U.S. service members that were killed in 2021, 13 in fact, in Afghanistan with that botched withdrawal. And I could say that these 200 days, these 200 plus days, really a welcome change to 4 years of incompetence and perhaps the worst administration in American history. Our friend Bill O'Reilly aptly going through his 5 best and 5 worst presidents recently and detailing that in his Killing series with the great Martin Dugard of Southern California, a wonderful writer and historian in his own right, that although he chose to stay away from the modern presidents, Mr. O'Reilly dove into the idea that the second worst on his list had to be Joe Biden, because either it's, you look at the two lanes, complete incompetence, or it was done on purpose. And the more we learn seemingly on a daily basis regarding these various issues, it seems as if a lot was on purpose, because if they simply, Alejandro Mayorkas specifically at DHS, just left the border alone and did what the Trump administration did in the first term, or not touch it at all, you would not have had the trafficking, the fentanyl crisis. You would not have had 300,000 plus children gone missing thanks to our government's incompetence. And Secretary Bobby Kennedy mentioned that there might have been help within HHS to traffic these children. It's a very scary development and something we'll stay on here at this network. We do now know that over 10,000 of them have been recovered, and God willing, all of them. As we are on the right side of history, we won't shy away from those hard topics, but we also will share the hope that is this country. And it's all about freedom, right? It's all about medical freedom, in fact, to have that right to try and choose. And sometimes those pharmacies don't allow you to do that. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, really even staying ahead of right to try and the executive orders signed by President Trump, because we know he's committed to stopping the bureaucracy involved in the pharmaceutical empire. But if you don't have insurance, there's no red tape and there's no worry. Only allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to bring you those life-saving medications, with ivermectin and mebendazole now going for 25% off. Code RSBN10 still intact for an extra 10% off your entire order. So there's also NAD Plus and methylene blue and 200 essential medications, life-saving, from bacterial and viral infections to emergency medical kits to antibiotics that can make a massive difference. God forbid you get sick. So you might as well have this stocked in your medicine cabinet or on the road with you as you celebrate those late summer vacations. I know that this is a great time of year. In fact, over the next 6 weeks or so, go see that fall foliage up in New Hampshire to New England, the upper Midwest, Wisconsin, and the North Woods as well. Beautiful time of year to do that. Not a bad idea to have life-saving medications on you in case you're exploring the great outdoors. So if you order today, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, or scan that QR code there, you can have those life-saving medications to your door in 2 to 3 days. And speaking of a camping trip, why not bring angelpaste.com with you? Those great items they have. The Miracle Cream, it's vitamin B infused, non-GMO, non-chemical, and I've used it here at the network. I love it. It's a great way to counter my dry skin that I get every once in a while. So whether it's a skin issue, eczema, to just wanting that healthy, glowing skin and not worrying about the chemicals that are put into other lotions, why not go with this great option here? They are Christian-owned. They hire veterans out of Spring, Texas, in the Houston Metroplex. That's right off the Gulf of America. Perhaps the greatest name change that we have. Well, Mount McKinley was nice, too, all the way from Denali up in Alaska. Because it's about an America First agenda, why not put your skin first? angelpaste.com, the Miracle Cream that has the orange option, vitamin C infused, again, non-GMO, no chemical, an all-natural mosquito repellent, also an all-natural facial spray for the guys and the gals to paint the town red. Whether it's a first date or that 50th anniversary celebration, angelpaste.com is there for you. Thank you for your sponsorship at roughly 12:10 on the East Coast, 9:10 in the morning on the West Coast. So good afternoon and good morning, America. I'm Robert McNeely, and good morning to wherever you might be in the world, or afternoon or evening. Thanks for tuning in, because right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we are committed to bringing you unbridled access to your 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief, to cabinet meetings, to press conferences, to speeches, and you know us as your go-to rally network. We still do that. Here and there, there's a rally or two out there, and President Trump, I'm sure, will gear up come the midterm, so stay tuned for that. That's right around the corner. Can you believe now we're almost at Labor Day? Just where the heck did this year go? 2025, one of the most enjoyable on the books in a golden era, committed to making America safe again and making America healthy again, ultimately making America great again. We know on the docket, Vice President J.D. Vance will visit La Crosse, Wisconsin, as he did last week in Peachtree City, Georgia, to tout the wins in the economic reforms that have been done through tariffs and the one big beautiful bill to fund border security, but also to help provide, and with that, the President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Are you all set? You all ready? Nice group. Big group. But I want to thank you all for being here as we prepare to celebrate Labor Day, when we honor the incredible, hardworking men and women of our country, which is doing very well, I have to tell you. Every policy of the Trump administration is designed to lift up the American worker, promote great-paying blue-collar jobs, and to rebuild the industrial bedrock of our nation. It's also obviously for great defense. We have the greatest military in the world. We rebuilt it largely in my first term. Some of it was stupidly given away to Afghanistan. For what reason? Nobody can figure that one. But it was still a relatively small amount of what, if you compare. The concept of what they did, however, is just incredible. But the country is doing well. We're respected all over the world like never before, probably. We went to NATO, as you know, and they went from 2% to 5% of GDP. Nobody expected that. And the difference is they didn't pay the 2 and they paid the 5. So, and as you know, we are selling a tremendous amount of equipment to NATO. We're not spending any money. We're making money, but I don't want to talk about making. I want to talk about we're no longer involved with funding Ukraine, but we are involved with trying to stop the war or the killing in Ukraine. So we're selling missiles and military equipment, millions and millions, and ultimately billions of dollars to the NATO people, where I'm very friendly and we have a great relationship. But that was an amazing trip. So they're funding the entire war. We're not funding anything. I think it's an important point to make, because a lot of people don't understand that. And we will continue to do that, and we're trying to get as much as we can for them. They want the American product. The American military product is by far the best in the world, and that's what they want to get. They have lots of options, but that's what they want to get. So the factories are doubling up and tripling up where they make the Patriots and other really, you could say, defense and offensive weapons. The wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in 60 years, which is so important to all of us around this table. The average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year, and there's no inflation, because there's been decreases, tremendous decreases, with thanks to Doug and Chris, and some of the people, the great job they've done with energy. Thank you very much. And Chris, thank you very much. I see you down close to $60 a barrel, and you'll be breaking that pretty soon, and that has a huge impact. So we have groceries are down, energy is way down. Energy is way down. It was $4 and $5 for a gallon of gas. Think of that, for gasoline, and now it's probably $2.25. There are some places it's $2. It broke $2 at a couple of locations in the South. In places like California, where they charge such high taxes, it's higher, but it's still much lower than what it was a year ago. So energy's way down, groceries are way down, eggs are way down. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. You've done a great job. Appreciate it. When we came in, the eggs were through the roof. They were 4 times higher than they've ever been. And my first question from you people, well, what are you going to do with eggs? I said, what's the problem with eggs? That was caused by Biden, or whoever was operating the auto pen actually caused it, I guess, because I don't think he knew too much about eggs. Factories are booming compared to before I took office. Domestic auto production is going to be, it's going to be so thrilling in 2 years when you see the numbers, because they're building plants all over the country. They're all coming in because of tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs. And if they build their plant here, they don't pay the tariffs. And they're pouring into our country, and you know about AI and you know about but the auto plants, that's the good old-fashioned stuff that I love. The auto plants are pouring into the United States of America. They're coming from Mexico, they're coming from Canada, and they're coming from Europe, all over Europe. And it's been pretty amazing. So factories are booming. And when they actually open, right now they're booming in terms of construction. This is something given to me by Mark Zuckerberg. And you'll see, this is AI now. I never understood it. I said, well, because I built shopping centers, and for $50 million, you can build a very nice shopping center. So I never understood when they said $50 billion for a plant. I said, what the hell kind of a plant is that? But when you look at this, you understand why it's $50 billion. So this is one he's building in Louisiana. That's Meta, Facebook, as people understand it to be. But look at that. That's the size of Manhattan. So that's superimposed over the island of Manhattan. It takes up a big part of Manhattan. I think they say 81% of Manhattan. So these are big things, and they're going up. A lot of them are going up now. I don't know that big. Actually, Mark is building 4 of them, and others are building similar places. And when these things open up, I'll tell you what, our country, we're leading China now in AI, substantially leading China. And the reason is because we're letting them build their own electrical facilities. We would need double the energy that if you take all of the electricity that we produce right now in this country, you'd have to multiply it times 2 or maybe 3 times. So 3 times more than we have right now for everything, to operate your toaster and everything else, okay? 3 times more. And the way we are able to succeed, because China goes out and builds these massive plants. They're right now building 58 coal, in this case, almost all coal-fired plants. And coal is back with this country too, by the way. You know, there's a reason they use it, because it's good. It works for them. And we call it clean coal. We don't call it coal. We call it clean, even very clean coal. But we have coal going up. We have nuclear going up. Nuclear is very much in vogue now. It's safe and inexpensive and great. We don't allow windmills. We're not allowing any windmills to go up. I mean, unless there's a legal situation where somebody committed to it a long time ago, we don't allow windmills. And we don't want the solar panels that I was speaking with the secretary about, because they take up, you know, thousands of acres of our farmland. You see these big, ugly patches of black plastic that comes from China. And the solar is, you know, I like solar in some ways, but for firing up your big plants, it doesn't work. It's very unstable, but it really takes up your farm. The farmers are saying, you know, they're building these massive blotches in the middle of the fields all over the country. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So we're not heavy into that at all. And windmills, we're just not going to allow them. They're ruining our country. They're ruining everyone. If you look at, I hate to mention countries, but you look at the UK, what's happened at UK, they have energy costs have gone through the roof. It's because of wind. They want to do everything, close up the northern parts of the country. They have oil that's tremendous. And they closed it up, and they're building windmills all over the place. And I tell them, you're my friends, but man, you're going to have a bad awakening very soon. It's going to be very bad. They're ugly. They don't work. They kill your birds. They're bad for the environment. And if you look at them from a house, your house is worth less than 50%. So I'm trying to have people learn about wind real fast, and I think I've done a good job, but not good enough, because some countries are still trying, and they're destroying themselves. Those are countries that are really destroying themselves. I hope they get back to fossil fuel, because right now, Chris, whether we like it or not, fossil fuel is the thing that works. And then you can add nuclear with it and other things, but fossil fuel is what works if we're going to fire up those big monster factories. But if you look at comparing everything before I took office, domestic auto production is up 18,000 cars a month. And we haven't even started yet, because a lot of these plants aren't built. It's up 18,000 because Ford, General Motors, and a couple of others, Stellantis, they're taking their existing plants, and they're, as quickly as they can, they're adding on to them. So when their plants open, because they're building big, modern, beautiful auto plants. But think of that, we're up 18,000 cars a month, and essentially all they've done is try and utilize their space correctly as their big plants open up. It's going to be, I hope they remember that it was this way. I hope this table gets a lot of the credit for what's happening. It gets all of the credit, because this would have never happened. We were going out of business in every way. We were losing. All the car plants were leaving this country. Now they're all coming back in, and they are coming from Canada, and they are coming from Mexico, but they're coming from Germany. They're coming from all over the world. Domestic steel production is up by 100,000 tons of steel a week. We have a 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and various other things. Copper just got brought into the picture, and that means people are going to want to make steel here. We just made a deal with U.S. Steel. As you know, we have an outside company come in, spend $17 billion on building new plants, new everything. It's great, and it stays right here in America. So we're doing amazingly well on steel, and domestic oil production is up by more than 300,000 barrels a day. That's a lot of barrels, and you're going to be talking about that in a second, I think, Chris and Doug. These two people have done a fantastic job, and we have the oil price down to about $62 a barrel. So just so you understand, because a lot of you like to talk about costs and prices, but I watch so much fake information. Product costs are down. Energy is way down. Energy brings things down. You know, with energy, that's what happened with Biden. He stopped our program, and then he went back to it when he realized that it looked like you're going to be paying numbers that nobody's ever seen, like $7 a gallon. You're going to pay $7 a gallon. They were up to $7.5. So then he immediately went back to the Trump plan that they terminated, but it was too late for them. It was too late. They blew it. They had a great thing going. I gave them something great, and they blew it. Since the inauguration, we've created over 500,000 new private jobs, and if you notice, when the numbers come out, government jobs are going down and private jobs are coming up, and that's what really fuels the country. It's easy to hire people and pay them for doing something that maybe is not very productive, but government jobs are down, actually substantially down, and private jobs are way up, and these are the jobs that make money, create a better life. Meanwhile, we've reduced the number of federal bureaucrats by 84,000. So we got rid of 84,000, and I think the job numbers, you're going to see the new job numbers are going to be through the roof because of all of the different businesses that are moving into our country. And not just production businesses, autos and AI, but any business you can think of. In the world of furniture, as an example, North Carolina, I went there many times when I built a lot of hotels and things, and I'd go to North Carolina, I'd buy the greatest, they were the greatest, most talented people. And then China came along and took all of those jobs away. If they would have tariffed them, China wouldn't have taken any of the jobs. But we had presidents that, honestly, and I like some of them, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing from a business standpoint, from running the country. And North Carolina, the most talented woodworkers that you've ever seen. I'd be there and I'd watch them. I'd say, I'd like to have a rail in that chair. Maybe can you fancy it up a little bit? How about this, sir? And they'd hand me a thing. It was like they were artists. They were unbelievable. And that business was stolen from us by others, not only China, but by others. All of a sudden, you're ordering your furniture from China. It was not even close to being as good, but they couldn't compete with it. If we would have said costs 100% or 200% tariff, you wouldn't have lost one job. It's so sad. But we're going to rebuild North Carolina furniture and other places, South Carolina too, to a lesser extent. They make furniture. But furniture, we're going to put a very substantial tariff on. We've already announced it. It'll be done pretty quickly. And when that happens, everyone's going to start. I just tell you, North Carolina, go out and start getting the grandchildren and the children, start teaching them, because some of those incredible artists that I knew as young people, they're older people now, but they still have the talent and they have time left, but they're going to be teaching their sons and their daughters and their grandchildren, and it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. It's going to happen like magic. It's going to happen without question. It's not like, gee, I hope it happens. It's going to happen. The results of Ford that just announced it's going to create 4,000 new jobs, American jobs. Hyundai, 14,000 jobs. General Motors is moving production of the Chevy Blazer and Equinox from Mexico back to the United States where it belongs. Don't forget, we lost 55% of our auto production over the last 35 years. 55%. We were the auto capital of the world. Like there was nobody even think about challenging us. We lost 55% of it to Mexico, Canada, China, a lot to China, and other countries. And it's all coming back. We will be bigger. A couple of years, we'll be bigger than we ever were. We'll be more dominant. We'll be bigger. We make great product, too. We're starting to make really great product. We're going to be bigger than we ever were. We're going to be at the level that it was when we were the only one that really, we sold to the world. And we're going to be back selling to ourselves and other parts of the world. It's not going to be the same, but it's going to be equally as important as it was in the heyday 30 years ago. But we lost more than 50% of the automaking capacity. In fact, the unions, the auto unions, As you know, the top guy didn't know me, didn't like me, and now he likes me. He says, man, I can't believe what Trump has done. But the auto workers voted for me. They understood better than anybody else. The auto workers, the Teamsters voted for me. Teamsters are great. They all voted for me. No Republican has ever gotten the support of the Teamsters and the auto workers. And now the head of the auto workers, I mean, it's so amazing. I watch them on television there. They can't even believe what happened. And I told them all what was going to happen. We secured new market access for American agricultural exports all over the world. Our secretary is doing a great job. Thank you, Brooke. And we have negotiated historic trade deals with the United Kingdom, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, who was here yesterday, and the European Union. Foreign nations are now paying hundreds of billions of dollars straight into our treasury, and numbers that nobody's ever seen before. As you know, we made trade deals with a lot of countries, and many of those countries, just to be able to sit at the table, are paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We made a trade deal with the European Union. They were rough on us for a long time, and now we have a very good deal. We made that with them. Trillions of dollars is coming into our country. Trillions. Far beyond billions, trillions of dollars. Wouldn't you say, Scott?
Yes, sir.
And in a short period of time. They have to buy $750 billion worth of our energy product. Energy is great. We have more than anybody else, so we're using it. But the European Union is a done deal, and Japan is done. And, I heard there was a problem with South Korea, but we met yesterday, and they're done. We didn't do anything. We just kept the same deal. He honored the deal. They wanted to see if, I don't even want to say it, but they wanted to see if they could do something. But they honored the deal, which is nice. And we cut the previous record-setting trade deficit, I hear just came out. We cut it in half already. We haven't even said, we've only been here really for a few months because, you know, it takes you a little while to fix up the Oval Office and do those things. prepare for the battle, right? So we really only been here for a very short period of time, and we cut the trade deficit in half. Is that right? That's fantastic. I didn't even think we were going to do that. And remember, these are things that are being built. These things, all these numbers up here, they're not open yet. When they open, you're going to see things happen in the United States that nobody's ever seen before, including our country in its heyday. And I had the greatest economy in the history of our country my first 4 years, despite COVID, which was a very unfortunate situation for the whole world. We did a great job with it, never got the credit for the job we did. Operation Warp Speed, people say, is one of the greatest achievements ever in politics or in the military, because it was almost a military procedure. But everybody, including Putin, said that Operation Warp Speed, what you did with that, nobody can believe it. And we did a great job. But it was a horrible pall over our country. We had a very dark cloud over the world. That was a very, very bad thing that came out of Wuhan, which I said it came out of Wuhan. That's where it came from. And China suffered greatly, but everybody did. But we did a good job with that, as good as you can possibly do, and we came back, and now we're stronger than ever before. If I didn't win this election, this country was gone. I'm telling you, economically it was gone. None of the things that we're talking about would have happened. The whole world was robbing us blind. Friend and foe. They were stealing our jobs, our money, our factories. They were stealing everything. We would have been a shell. We would have been a bankrupt, broken shell. And that's the way it is. But we're doing just the opposite. Stronger than we've ever been. Last month, in a landmark achievement, I also proudly signed the largest working class tax cuts in American history. So the bill that, I'm not going to use the term great, big, beautiful, that was good for getting it approved, but it's not good for explaining to people what it's all about. It's a massive tax cut for the middle class. It's a massive tax cut for jobs. And it's, no tax on Social Security. So seniors, I don't know how you can vote for anybody else. And, just think of that. And no tax on overtime. So you work overtime, you don't have to pay tax on overtime. That's good. The Democrats don't know what they're going to do. So they have like this soundbite. You know, they have all these sound bites. They send it out. I don't know. Some guy sends out a word and everybody uses it, including the fake news. Some of you are here right now. I'm looking at you. And it's death. They use the word death. No, it's actually life. It's almost like a newborn life. It's not death. That's their soundbite. The bill is death. It's not. We strengthen Social Security. We strengthen Medicare, Medicaid. The job we've done on Social Security is, if the Democrats got in, Social Security is over because the country's going to fail. There won't be any Social Security. And I made that pledge to you. We're going to take care of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And we're doing that in spades because the country is becoming so successful again. And it hasn't been this successful. I think in the end, it will never have been this successful. I don't think it'll even be close with what's happening. Every American is seeing a tax cut as a result of the bill. The average police officer will keep an extra $1,000 a year at least in overtime, and the average waiter or waitress will keep nearly $2,000 extra in the fact that they would have had to pay that kind of money on tips. And I never realized that the government was so strong on that. But waitresses, waiters would tell me that the government would go after them. It was horrible. That's how it all started with me. It just was incredible. And the biggest thing was, again, the $4 trillion that they found. They said, well, that was nice. They should have announced it. I could have told them that. And I don't know. It should be simple. But a lot of people didn't understand it. Actually, a lot of good people didn't understand it. But now they're saying, you know, Trump was right. They'd never seen anything like this. And I don't know what it is, Scott. They didn't understand what we were trying to explain to them was going to happen. Everybody's moving back to the United States because they don't want to pay a tax. If they're not here, they have to pay a tax. And it didn't seem that complicated, but it's working at a level that nobody can imagine. You know, this is working $4 trillion, but that's a big number. It's a number that nobody ever heard of before. But $4 trillion is exciting. But that's nothing compared to what's happening, because these places haven't even opened yet. Some of them haven't even started hiring yet. They're under construction. So it's construction jobs, but it's not the big number, and the big numbers, when they open, they're going to be very successful. It's a revolution. We're also working on things to ensure that the awesome power of artificial intelligence is used to benefit all Americans, including American workers and also American children. In that spirit, our wonderful First Lady has just announced a presidential AI challenge. It's going to be a very good challenge, I can tell you. Put her heart into it, which will inspire the next generation to stay on the cutting edge of this vital technology. This is the new internet, the new computer, the new television, the new everything, all put together in one. This is why when I show you a picture like that, I mean, I show you this is a factory superimposed over the island of Manhattan, and you have many of them being built right now all over the country, or soon to start. Some of them have started. This one has actually started. That's in the great state of Louisiana. But the First Lady is working very hard on this, and it's an important initiative. And Melania, when she puts her mind to it, nobody can do better. There's nobody. So every young person should go to AI.gov to learn more, AI.gov to learn more. And you'll see it's a great challenge. I think it's going to be a very modern kind of a challenge that involves AI, which is very exciting to people. So I want to thank her, raise a lot of money for children. We're putting America first, and we're going to be putting the America worker first. And, you know, the Republican Party has picked up 4 million new people, 4 million. The Democrats have lost 2.5 million. Other than that, they're extremely happy. No, they're very depressed. They're very depressed. And their new box that they've fallen into is crime. There was a consultant on one of the shows this morning I was watching. I thought he was very good. He's a Democrat consultant. And he was screaming, no, no, don't let him do this to you. Don't let, it's another trap. It's another trap. what he's talking about, like men playing in women's sports. They said that's an 80-20. No, it's a 97-3. It's 97-3. Like transgender for everybody. They fought for it. They're still fighting for it. I saw a guy today, a politician that you all know very well, fighting like hell for men playing in women's sports. You don't understand. They're human beings also. Well, I agree they're human beings. But you can't have a 7-foot guy playing basketball with the women. You know, just one of those little problems in life. And we all have our place. It's okay. I've got my place too. But this guy's screaming, it's another trap. And this is the worst of all. He said, because this is crime. Trump is saying he's against crime and they're for crime. No, he's going, it was funny. No, it's a trap. Don't do it. And then I saw this poor, stupid Chuck Schumer, the guy. He looks like he's aged 100 years. And I don't like getting into looks. You know, looks don't mean anything, right? When you're in politics, looks don't matter. I look at Pam, I would never say she's beautiful because that'd be the end of my political career. Laurie, secretary. But I will tell you, this is the best of all. And they're going to fight me. Like this slob of a governor you have in Illinois. This poor guy got thrown out of his business by his family. I know the family. I was partners with the family. Nice family. I like the family. But he was no good. They threw him out. He's governor of Illinois. And he goes about Trump, we don't need his help. Chicago is the worst. These places are really bad. Crime in D.C. was the worst it ever was. You know, they make up stories. Crime in D.C. was the worst ever in history. And now, over the last 13 days, we've worked so hard. We've taken so many, there are many left, but we've taken so many criminals, over 1,000. I watched a man from Maryland who said to me, I mean, sir, you're the greatest president. You're doing an unbelievable job. What a great job. Governor Moore, has anyone heard of him? Mm-hmm. He's another hopeful for president. I don't think so. But I met him, and I didn't realize it was on camera. Did you see they caught him on camera? I was at a game, I don't know, like the Army-Navy game or something. And I met him in a hallway. And as usual, you do your job very well. One of these great cameramen had it on tape. But I met this gentleman. I never met him before. Sir, you're doing a great job. You're doing an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator. And a lot of people are so the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime. And you would think that Illinois would have such a problem with crime, such a bad governor. He should be calling me, and he should be saying, could you send over the troops, please? It's out of control. It's out of control. In New York, it's out of control. Not as bad as Illinois, by the way. Not even close. In California, you would have not had the Olympics had I not sent in the troops, sent in the National Guard. They did a fantastic job. We have the Olympics. We have the World Cup coming. I got them in my first term, and I was really sad because I said, oh, boy, I got them, and I won't be president. And little things happen. Thank you, God. Thank you. Little things happen. Think of it. You could ask Johnny. Johnny would tell you he's the head of World Cup. He's a great guy, too, great commissioner. But he's the head of the World Cup. He said, Trump is the only reason we're doing this. And the sad part is that I was not going to have it. I would have to be, probably I wouldn't have even been invited to the game, depending on who's president, right? And I got that. I did not get 250, okay? The 250th anniversary, I did not get. I'd like to claim it, if I might, but I did get that. That was whether I was president or not, it was still 250. I'd like to take credit for it. What I will take credit for is we're going to have a better celebration under Trump than you would have had under some stuff. That I'll take care of. We're going to have a safer place, Christy, because of you and Tom Homan and everybody, right? But, so we have 250 coming up. We have the World Cup coming up, which is like having 45 Super Bowls. and we have the Olympics coming up. So we're going to have a very exciting 3.5 years remaining. We're going to have a very exciting. It's going to be done. It's going to be done properly. So I just want to tell you, our country's in incredible shape. Our military is strong and powerful and respected. We had some fantastic decisions from the Supreme Court that let us put the people into the military and other businesses that are best for the job, as opposed to some woke reason that was killing our country. That was a very strong, very powerful. You can now go into a company based on your ability, as opposed to being forced in based on some factor that cannot make our country great. That was a big decision, very, very big decision. And we've had a lot of great decisions, and we've all made some great decisions sitting around this table. I want to thank Scott. Unbelievable what's happening financially with you and Howard. And Vice President's involved in everything, and he's been great. And Marco has been, really, I think you're born for this job. I don't think you should ever run for another office. I don't think you should, really. You're so good at this. He is so good. And everybody likes him, everybody likes him. But everybody, much more importantly than like, I think you would say, is respect. They respect Marco. They respect all the people around the table. So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to go around the table. You seem to like it. Your audience seems to like it based on ratings. And I want to mention, about crime, because we have a young lady here, Iris, of Epoch Times. You're Iris, aren't you, huh? And I heard you were very savagely mugged in the city, and I'm not going to let that happen under this administration. And that was last year. And would you like to mention what happened?
Of course. So first of all, thank you, Mr. President.
Do you want to listen to this?
For having me here to share my story to the room and to the broader public. My name is Iris Tao. I'm a White House correspondent for NTD, the sister media of the Epoch Times. So more than 2 years ago, it was a Saturday morning in broad daylight. I was on my way to work, and a young man with a black ski mask pointed a gun at my face and threatened me to hand over my phone, my wallet, my laptop, and everything else. And when I refused, he used the butt of his handgun to strike me across the face, in the cheek, or what some people call pistol whip me, before running away. And that has deeply traumatized myself and my family. Ever since, I've never dared to walk in the street of DC at night, ever. And my family was extremely worried. So, Mr. President, thank you so much for what you're doing right now.
Thank you, Iris, for being honest.
Such incidents involved not just me, but also my family. If he had shot me, I could have died right there in the middle of nowhere without my families or my friends knowing, at the age of back then, I think 23.
Right.
Just starting my career here in DC without even starting a family. But now I'm very blessed to have this opportunity.
So you had a gun pointed at your head, and you probably figured that he's going to pull the trigger, because these are animals that don't know what the hell. They couldn't care less. The pulling the trigger to him is a very minor event, and I'm sure he's done it before. So how did you? And you did refuse to give it, which would probably, maybe somebody would say that was not the right decision, right? But you refused. But I understand that. So and then he hit you real hard.
Yes.
It's really amazing that you weren't shot, though, isn't it?
I'm very blessed, and that's why having this opportunity to stand here to share my story today. One, I'm very grateful for God for allowing me to still survive to this day, but also to Mr. President. Thank you for now making DC safer.
Thank you very much.
For us, for our families, for my parents, on my behalf of my parents, and now my baby on the way. Thank you so much.
And there are other reporters and journalists, good people, and you don't have to say it, but that have also been attacked violently. And not violently, too, pretty badly. But, and I bet you see a big difference in the streets right now. And this is only 12 days, but people are telling me they're going out to dinner now. They haven't, I told my friend, but I have a lot of friends that are going out to dinner all the time now in D.C., and they weren't doing it 12 days ago. They would never even think. One of my friends went out 5 times. It was 4 times the last time I told. Now it's 5 times. He said, I love going out to dinner, and restaurants are starting to open again. A lot of them closed because, nobody wanted to go into a restaurant. Nobody wanted to get to a restaurant or even sit in the restaurant. But you see a big difference now, don't you?
I do pass by Union Station every day on my way home, and I do feel a lot safer seeing the trucks right outside, seeing the National Guard troops members right outside. It just made me feel like I'm hopeful about these days again, and one day hopefully we can raise our family here.
Thank you very much. That's nice. And those are tough troops, too. Those are not politically correct troops. We don't have politically correct anymore. We have tough guys, tough people, including some tough women. But we have tough people, and when you look at them, I'll tell you, they showed one scene where a bunch of Tren-de-Aragua guys or whatever, maybe MS-13, maybe MSDNC, okay? Because to me, they're worse. I think they're worse. MSNBC maybe is worse than Tren-de-Aragua. Real scum, real dishonest people. But anyway, they went into this gang. I think it was Tren-de-Aragua, Venezuela, and they weren't nice to this group of people. The gang was calling them sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. You're no good. Get out of here. And yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. These are people that beat up people all day long, and they're calling these soldiers. That's what they are. They're real soldiers. There's no games. I said, you don't have to be politically correct. And you know the way they used to spit in the face of the soldiers, with the soldiers saying like this, and you'd have some guy or some woman sometimes screaming at them from 1 inch away. They're standing there, and they're told you cannot do anything, and they start spitting, actually spitting in their face. And I said, you spit, we hit. And they're totally authorized to do that, all of those things. But your story is great, and there are other stories here, but they don't have to tell them. But some people are ashamed to tell them. They don't want to tell them. But it was like a jungle, and it's not a jungle anymore. And it's going to get so good that this will be the safest capital there is. It'll be one of the safest places in our nation, anywhere. And right now it's one of the most unsafe places, but not now. 12 days ago, it was the most unsafe place in our nation. And they have to stop issuing false crime numbers because, I heard the mayor, and I like the mayor, fine. I don't care if I like her or not. If she did her job, I wish she were a horrible person who did her job. But she's probably nice, I guess. I don't care. I want her to do a job. But they issue false numbers. She said crime is down, before we got, now they can say crime is down. Crime is very much down. But what they did is they issued numbers. It's the best in 30 years. Not the best. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's much worse. And they gave phony numbers. And then they fired the man who didn't want to write the phony numbers. He got fired. And I guess that whole situation's under investigation because it's a very important thing, Pam. If they're going to give these phony numbers, it's a false feeling that you get crime. You have to do something about it. You can't go around saying, "Oh, Washington D.C. safe," if it's not. It's going to be very safe very soon. It's very safe right now. You're going to go out, have dinner. People are going out all over the place. They're walking. I have people that work in government, strong, tough cookies. They can take care of themselves. But it doesn't help to have big, strong muscles. And I work out. If a guy's over there with a gun shooting you in your face, you can be the strongest guy in the world. Guy has a gun, shoots you in the face. It doesn't matter how much you've worked out, how many weights you've lifted, how hard you work. And so we have the toughest guys and we have the best guys. And I'm willing to go to Chicago, which is a big trouble, but we have a governor that refuses to admit he has problems, huge problems. Baltimore, Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well, I said, I want to walk with you too someday, but first you got to clean up your crime because I'm not walking in Baltimore right now. Baltimore is a hellhole. And this guy, I don't even think he knows it. He's another candidate for president. Between him and Newsom, you got some real beauties, I'll tell you. But if we didn't go into Los Angeles, you wouldn't have the Olympics. In my opinion, you wouldn't have the Olympics. We went in, and the sheriff, the boss, Said, thank God they're here. You could see his tape. He said, we were not able to control what was happening. That was the sheriff. And he said it loud and clear. And, they're suing us for going in and cleaning up crime. And yet their own sheriff said, on the first or second night, he said, we could have never handled. That was going to be, you were not going to have the Olympics or the World Cup, because that would be, there wouldn't be anything left. They shouldn't have lost 25,000 houses. The water was turned off from the Pacific Northwest. And I was after them in my first administration, turn on the water, turn it on. Nobody could have believed this could have happened. But they had no water in the fire hydrants. They had no water in the sprinkler systems that people put up in their ceilings. There was no water. And yet we have tremendous amounts of water. They send it all into the Pacific Ocean, trying to protect a certain little fish. It's not doing well because it doesn't do well without water either. And it shouldn't be a protected because it shouldn't be a protected species. But I think that's actually just an excuse. I actually think these people are sick. There's something wrong. So we send hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day into the Pacific Ocean. They turn a valve, and the valve heads out, and we turn the valve back. I actually had to do it using force. We turned the valve back, and now they have water, but not as much as they should have, because they should, and I'm telling Gavin Newsom by this conversation right now, turn the rest of the water on. Turn it on. So things are done that are so sad in this country. Lack of common sense. I like to say the Republican Party is the party with common sense. We're smart, we're sharp, we're this to that. They're smart, but they're radical left people. And they can't help it. They're very smart, but they're radical left, and they're destroying our country, but they're not going to destroy it anymore. So we picked up millions of people in the Republican Party. They lost millions of people. And I think we're going to do very well in the midterms. And I just want to say one other thing, and that's medicine. The cost of medicine all over the world is much cheaper than the United States, because for years the world pushed us around, including our friends. And you go to Germany, you go to England, you go to different places, and you go to a store, and it's sometimes 10% of what we pay in the United States, because they said, nope, we're not paying any more. You charge the United States. This went on for 25, 30 years. And I invoked favored nations. I said, I want to pay the same as they're paying. And Bobby Kennedy is doing a good job, and Dr. Oz is doing a good job. And I asked them, other than the basics that they're doing on autism and other things, which we got to solve that problem because it's crazy what's happening, it's out of hand. But this is the most important thing that can be done, is favored nations, Bobby. And we're not talking about a 25% cut or 50. We're talking about a 1,500% cut, because people go to Europe to buy drugs, and they come back with drugs, prescription drugs, normal, not, I don't mean the bad drugs, I mean prescription drugs, because you can buy them for 10%, 15%, 20% of what. So they're going to go up in price. And I told the countries, and I get along good with all of them. I mean, you could ask I get along good with all of them. But I said, I told them, I said, you're going to go up a little bit because it's the world. It's the world. So more people in the world than we have. We're going to go down a lot, and they're going to go up a little. And it's called equalization. We're going to have equalization. So we pay the same price as the lowest drug sold anywhere in the world. And I think, Bobby, that's going to happen pretty soon. The companies are ready for it. They had to go for years. I was with a very great gentleman from Eli Lilly. I think he's an incredible executive. I'll mention the company, and I'll mention him, because we had this argument my first term, and then we had it in my second term. In my second term, I wouldn't stop until I won the point, and he threw up his hands. He says, you're right, I can no longer defend it. I can no longer defend that a pill that's made by Johnson & Johnson in a factory, in the same factory in the United States versus a place in Europe or other places, including Canada, by the way, you could buy it for 10% or 15% or 20%, the cost of what we're paying, where we'd pay 5, 6, 7 times more money. He said, it's the hardest part of my job, defending that. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm saying that we have to get down to business. And that's a great company. He's done a great job, and I appreciated it. And it really broke the ice because they were sending, well, we have to do research and development. Well, you have to do it for Germany and all these other countries too. Well, they think the United States should bear it. I mean, I heard this stuff and I finally said, it's over. Now, you have to have somebody that can get these countries to do it. I told them, if you don't do it, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff on everything you send into our country. That's much more money than what we're talking about. Then we have to get the drug companies to do it, and they'll do it because we have tremendous power over the drug companies too. So we're going to get it done. I just hope we get it done fast, Bobby, because this thing should go fast. But we're going to get the cost of medicine is going to be 1,000%. Think of that, not 2%. And I'll just tell this last story. When I was in my first term, in my last year, I was so proud of myself because drug prices went down for the first time in 28 years under my administration. You know how much they went down? 1/4%. And I was so proud of that. And I held a news conference, I think you'll be able to find it, congratulating myself and my administration because for the first time in 28 years, drug prices went down 1/4%. That isn't tiny, but it still went down. And I thought it was great. And then I realized, it's a very complicated business and formula. You got to be very smart. I said, we're really getting ripped off by the whole world. The whole world is ripping us off. And what happened is I got on this kick. And I got the drug companies to agree. And I got countries to agree. And they're not agreeing because they think I'm a nice person. They're agreeing because I will put charges and costs and tariffs onto them that will be many times more than what they're going to be paying. So the companies are there and the countries are there. And we got to get it done, Bobby. We got to get it done. And we're going to have the biggest price of it. Now, that's going to lower Social Security, Medicare. This is going to lower everything because drugs go for everything. It's going to have the biggest impact, I think, of anything that can possibly be done. But your costs are going to be going down for medicine, for prescription drugs, will be going down at levels that nobody ever thought possible. And that's going to happen in a matter of a very short period of time. And we're all set with the countries, and we're all set with the companies. That's all you need, the two. And the middleman gets cut out. Under this scenario, the middleman doesn't exist anymore. That was the other thing. They always blamed the middleman. I said, who are the middlemen? Nobody knew who the middleman was. That's right. They had the most complex formula. It was genius, but they didn't get away with it. So I'm counting on Bobby. Do you want to start, Bobby? Maybe we'll start with you. You can start with that and then go on to what we're talking about.
We are deep into MFN negotiations, most favored nation status negotiations with 14 companies. Howard Lutnick is a breath of fresh air, and I think he's going to help us get across the finish line with the leverage that we have from tariffs.
They're smart. Don't let them get away with it, Howard.
Well, the combination of Bobby's MFN and the 232 pharmaceuticals, which we launched together, when you put those two together, it really gives Bobby the tools to go execute your plan. So I'm supporting Bobby as he executes his plan.
Good. Right?
Yes. And this cabinet meeting is supposed to be about working Americans and bringing jobs back to this country, and particularly rural America. And I want to mention the big, beautiful bill. Right now, we spend 7% of Medicaid dollars on rural hospitals. So they're getting the short end of the stick. It's about $19 billion a year. Under the Rural Transformation Program, we give them an extra $10 billion a year. So we're raising an infusion of cash to rural hospitals and rural communities by 50%. It's going to be the biggest infusion in history, and it's going to restore and revitalize these communities. And we can't survive as a nation if we don't honor our rural communities, which are the source of our values, our virtues, our character, our economy, our food. And you are bringing that back. You are bringing those communities back. I wanted to talk because you mentioned the wind farms. We now have an interdepartmental coalition, a team, which is Doug Burgum and Howard Lutnick and Chris Wright and Pete Hegseth. We're all working on this issue. And Lee. Sorry, Lee. We're all working together on this issue. We're meeting together. There are right now 11 wind farms planned that were launched during the Biden administration. Between Maine and Virginia, it's 1,130 towers. These towers are twice the size of the Washington Monument. The blades on them
They're
are
massive. It's so crazy.
the blades are 350 feet long, one blade. One of these blades blew up on Nantucket last summer, and the water is filled with shards of glass, of sharp glass, so it's dangerous to swim. They had to close the beaches, but they have indemnified themselves so the local communities can't sue them. None of these projects are bonded. If you build an oil derrick in the Gulf, you got to put a bond down. There's no bond for dismantling them, and that's one of the tools that Doug is now using to challenge some of these projects. None of the cost of energy from these projects is 39 cents a kilowatt hour. The average cost in this country is 17 cents per kilowatt hour.
And natural gas is 3 cents.
Right. So it is the most expensive energy. I've been representing commercial fishermen for 40 years. They are so excited about what you're doing, Mr. President, because their fisheries are being wiped out. As soon as they begin construction, the groundfish fisheries just disappear. The fish leave the area. They've killed 160 whales in the last 2 years. So they're wiping out the whale population, the Atlantic whale population, the big whales, the minkies, the gray whale, or the humpback whales, the right whales. And you are going to save the whales on the East Coast because of this. You're going to save these economies that are based upon commercial fishing. I'll say one other thing about fishing. We are now, the South Asian nations are now dumping shrimp on our country. The shrimp is heavily contaminated. We just stopped a shipment that was contaminated with cesium-157, which is radioactive. They're farming these shrimps, and they use bactericides and antibiotics and all kinds of chemicals, and the shrimp are so contaminated that the European nations won't take them, so they're dumping them all here, and they're putting out of business. We have the most sustainable, highly regulated fishery in the world. What our fishermen do is a good thing. And all the trawlers in the Gulf and Alaska are being shut down because we're getting shrimp dumped here. So we have now increased FDA inspections of shrimp to make sure that Americans are not buying and eating contaminated shrimp and putting our shrimpers out of business. I talked just very briefly, we have an historic agreement on pre-authorization. We brought together 80% of the insurance industry, which has agreed to, for 80% of diseases and injuries, give immediate pre-authorization so that when you go to your doctor's office and he prescribes you a new knee or whatever it is, you will immediately know whether your insurance company is going to pay for it. This is an historic agreement. People have been trying to do it for decades, and we, because of your leadership, brought the insurance industry together and got them to voluntarily agree to do this. Similarly, we've made another historic agreement with personal health records. The 60 biggest tech companies in our country have all agreed to allow Americans for the first time access to their personal data, which they own, which these companies have been monetizing without permission. You're going to be able to see by next year all of your health records on your cell phone. It's going to save lives. It is going to fuel an infusion of technology into that space where people can access those records. They can compare their diet to what they personally need, and we'll have personalized medicine. We are doing price transparency. You passed this during your first term, and then the Biden administration refused to enforce it. We've now brought at HHS, under your leadership and my leadership, more enforcement actions than during the entire 4 years of the Biden administration. Right. So we're going to have that kind of price transparency. I'm working with Linda on forcing medical schools. And the MCATs, the people who administer the MCATs, the people who do accreditations, to put nutrition into medical school education. Right now, 25% of the doctors in this country do not feel competent to give nutritional advice. 70% of diabetes cases can be reversed or ended if you just change people's diets. And the doctors don't know how to advise it. They only know how to prescribe the drugs. We are going to change that. So if you come out of a medical school under the Trump administration, you are going to know about diet. And then finally, most importantly, the Pete and Bobby Challenge. I want to give an update. I got 5 minutes and 48. It's 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, and you try to do it within 10 minutes. I got 5 minutes and 48 seconds. Pete beat me. I'm still bitter at that. 5 minutes and 25. The cabinet leader is Scott Turner.
You beat me.
Your arm.
That's
You
good.
got 5 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm waiting for reports from the rest of the cabinet. The only exemptions currently existing is if you can hit a 50 at Bedminster, which President Trump did with Bryson DeChambeau, so he's the only one exempt in this room. Everybody else.
That's great, Bobby. Bobby, autism, if I could just, I don't want to go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country and some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised in September. We're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism. And we're going to be able to address those in September.
It's such a big day. I'm looking forward to that day because there's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers that you have today versus 20 years ago. And those numbers, what are those numbers, Bob?
Well, in 1970, the biggest epidemiological study in history was done in Wisconsin. They looked at 900,000 children, and they were looking for autism. They knew what it looked like, and they were very, very precise about it, and they found an incident rate of 0.7, in other words, less than 1 for every 10,000 children. Today, our most recent numbers are 1 every 31 kids. It's probably actually much worse than that because California, which has the best collection system, is reporting 1 out of every 19 children, American children, has autism, 1 in every 12.5 boys. So it's gone from less than 1 in 10,000 in 1970 to 1 in 12.5 boys.
Think of
today.
those numbers. So there has to be something artificially causing this, meaning a drug or something. And I know you're looking very strongly at different things, and I hope you can come out with that as soon as possible.
We will.
So 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 or 34 or 12 if it's a boy. Can you imagine that? 1 in 12. That's for a boy.
1 out of every 12.5 boys.
It's not even believable that could be. And that was 1 in 10,000 not so long ago. I've been hearing these numbers, and they get worse and worse every year. There's got to be something. I think there's nothing, including favored nations and everything else, there's nothing that can be, if you can find out the reason that that's happening, and I know we're gonna do some things. I think we maybe know the reason, and I look forward to that press conference, to be with you on that press conference. That's going to be a great thing. Thank you, Bob. You're doing a great job. Linda, how about it? And we want nothing less than $500 million from Harvard. Don't negotiate, Linda. They've been very bad. Don't negotiate. Go ahead.
All of that's working well. Mr. President, thank you very much. Since we are focusing today on Labor Day, and I know that Kelly and Lori are both going to echo some of the things that I'll say as well, we are really focusing, on our workforce. But what I'm finding with great joy around the country is that states really are being innovative and working more with middle schools and with high schools to make sure that we are having hands-on learning. There are pathways to jobs that are happening now. And if we see more and more of our community colleges working with our middle schools and our high schools so that high school students are graduating not only with a diploma, but a certificate that they have worked with, perhaps with a Toyota or another company that is coming in, public-private partnerships. And they're learning on the job so that when they graduate from high school, they're ready to go into the workforce, because we know with all of these wonderful jobs that are coming back into the country, through AI, through just our normal jobs, we need electricians, HVAC operators, etc. If we don't have this training, we're not going to have the workforce we need for all these wonderful jobs. So governors are really excited about this prospect. I've been now to several states and visited community colleges and tech schools with governors, and they're just all on board for getting this done. I think it's one of the best things that we're hearing relative to the job market. So we're just kind of focusing on that for today.
So we're bringing education back to the states, to put it in a more simple fashion. We're going to let the states educate our children again. And, you know, we're rated out of 40 countries, we're 38, 39, or 40. So obviously, it's not working what they've been doing for the last 30, 40 years. And if you go back, the best are like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, some of the other, Finland, they're very highly rated. If you go back to just take a look at anything you want to do, you just look at us in the past. If we gave Iowa or gave Indiana or gave, and I don't say every one of them, you know, a guy like Gavin Newsom's not going to do well. Certain states won't do well. But even California, you cut it up into sections. You have Riverside, you have this, you have that. You cut it into 5 sections. And, you know, if you had a good governor, you'd be able to do well. But certain states will be able to compete with Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and everyone. It'll be just as good. So I figure you have close to 40 of those states. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have 10, you'll have 5 that won't be very good. You have 5 disasters, and we'll have to work on those disasters. But for the most part, we will have education that will go zooming up in those charts, just like we have in everything else we've done. And I think it's one of the most important things we're doing at this table. So bringing education back to the states where you have the parents running it, where you have the school boards that are local. We have people running from Washington that have never even been to the state that they're in charge of. They've never even been there, and I don't think they care about it. So we want to close up the Washington buildings, sell the buildings off, let somebody else get rich with the real estate, because it'll be a crime-free city. By the way, speaking of that, anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And that's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but where you have it, it is, we have no choice. So in D.C. and Washington, states are going to have to make their own decision. But if somebody kills somebody, like you could have been killed, very lucky you didn't get killed, it's the death penalty, okay? Fantastic job you're doing. Thank you, Linda. Very much appreciated. How are you doing with the colleges, by the way? You're doing some pretty good work in terms of getting them to treat people fairly.
Well, interestingly enough, since we've been negotiating with some of the Ivy League schools, I have presidents of universities calling every single week. They want to sit down and talk to us about all of the steps that they are taking, because they would like to not come under the same investigative program, and so it is having its desired effect.
That's great.
So if you fire a shot across the bow, the big guys, people kind of step in line and know you mean business, and we have teeth in these agreements, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing there.
Well, they misbehaved, and some of these schools are getting billions and billions of dollars, and they misbehave, so that's it. And so one way or the other, we're going to win that whole thing. It's going to straighten them out. Okay? Thank you. Great job. Lee, please.
Mr. President, the Trump EPA has a special Labor Day message to America's workforce, especially our auto workers, our coal miners, our steam fitters, our pipe fitters, and the list goes on. See what a difference a year makes. A year ago, the way that the Environmental Protection Agency was operating, the choice was made to protect the environment, we would have to strangulate the economy. That's the way that the EPA operated for years. There was a binary choice. We had to choose one or the other. The Trump EPA completely rejects that. See, we choose to protect the environment and grow the economy. And a very special shout out to Russ Vogt and his team at the Office of Management and Budget. We give him a lot of work. He's happy to do it. Dozens of different deregulatory actions. We just announced a proposed rescission of the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding, all of the light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicle regulations that followed. It is the single largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States government. And when you add up the dozens of different actions that we have announced and that we're working through, in one agency in 1 year, we'll do more deregulation than entire federal governments have done across all agencies, across entire presidencies. And what we are accomplishing would not be possible if not for the support of the rest of this team you've assembled around this table. The well-oiled, well-wired machine at the White House, led by Susie Wiles, and the DCOSP, the policy shop, led by Stephen Miller, they have been amazing to work with. I was just in Iowa with Administrator Loeffler, who made an announcement with Secretary Rollins to reverse the deratement on diesel exhaust fluid systems. Mr. President, you said you wanted water flowing faster. Working with the Secretary of Energy, we've done our part to do that, to get gas cans flowing faster, to stop that annoying start-stop feature in vehicles. See, people out there might say, well, why are you focused on all of these little things? If it's little to you, it doesn't mean that it's not a very big deal for millions of other Americans. The charge was clear when you called me in November and you asked me to do this job. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans. Unleash energy dominance. Advance cooperative federalism, permitting reform, make America the AI capital of the world, bring back American auto jobs. What we are accomplishing now, again, wouldn't be possible if not for your leadership. I'm grateful to the American people for electing you and our amazing Vice President. I was just in Mexico City announcing and signing on behalf of the Trump administration an agreement with Mexico for a permanent solution for the Tijuana River sewage crisis, which you have been so outspoken and passionate about in our conversations. It would not be possible if not for Secretary Rubio, Deputy Secretary Landau, U.S. Ambassador to Mexico Johnson. The team at the State Department has been incredible. The work with the NEDC on permitting, to be able to get new pipelines built, to get new factories started. The list, it's amazing. You know, somebody out there might not realize the relationship between the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Defense. The amount of work with Secretary Hegseth and the Army Corps, from responding to the LA wildfires, to getting more water flowing in California, which is also something that Secretary Burgum is involved with, to helping the farmers, the ranchers and landowners to revise the waters of the United States definition so they don't have to go hire an attorney or a consultant to tell them whether or not a water on their property is subject to federal regulation. Thank you for putting this entire team together. It's an honor to be at the Trump EPA, where we choose to both protect the environment and grow the economy. It's a very happy Labor Day for America's workforce.
And Lee, in Los Angeles, if you could, because of the fires, Lee was there, and as you know, we have very strict federal rules having to do with the rebuilding of those houses. And Lee was able to get the approvals done for everybody immediately. It was so fast, nobody could believe it. And the mayor and the governor still haven't gotten their approvals. And they're going to have riots out there for that reason. These are great homeowners. They want to build their house. They can't get approved because you have the mayor, Bass, who has no idea what she's doing. And you have a governor who is just such a bad governor, and the people are unable to build their house. The toughest permit to get was the federal permit by far, and yet he got them all in a short period of time after the fire. How long did it take?
Well, Mr. President, you came in, signed an executive order, and told the EPA that we had less than 30 days to complete our hazardous material removal, which The initial response, once all of our heart rates went down a bit, was just to figure out how to get it done. We got it done in just less than 30 days. The Army Corps of Engineers then comes in for the debris removal. The federal government in clearing over 13,000 properties that were destroyed because of these wildfires. We've got to the point today where property owners all across Los Angeles, they're grateful to the Trump administration. They're happy that we did our part, but they are desperate to rebuild. And there is not a single green light approval that they are waiting for from the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers proudly have done our work. It's important for those local officials to let these property owners build on their land. It's their property. It doesn't belong to the mayor of Los Angeles. And they need to represent their people better. They're ready to build.
When will they have their permits from Los Angeles?
Well, here's the problem, Mr. President, is that they have been ready since the moment we were done with the federal part. I mean, well, I was visiting a week after. Actually, I thought my first trip was going to be to Los Angeles. However, the moment I got confirmed, the vice president said, "You're going to East Palestine right away." So that actually ended up being the first visit because the vice president's so passionate about that from the great state of Ohio. Then we went to Los Angeles from there. We're talking about the beginning of February, where we were meeting with property owners already. They were already all set up. They had the contractors. It was the beginning of February, and they were waiting for green lights from Los Angeles to be able to go onto their property and start rebuilding. Some of the same people who were waiting for a green light ready with the contractors at the beginning of February are still waiting now in the middle of August. Let these Californians rebuild.
And we're talking about also taking away some of the properties and building low-income housing on those properties. They're going to have problems like they've never had before. These people don't know what they're doing. So we have all our permits. Everything the federal government has to do was done long ago. They should have been. I went to a town hall with Lee, but we were there, and the mayor was saying it would take 2 years, maybe 3 years to get this approved. I said, no, not 2 years, 2 days. They should have it in 2 days. And I toured the site, and I met 100 homeowners, all standing in front of this site a couple of days after the fire, and they were ready to go right then. They wanted to just build right then. And the city won't let them do it. Los Angeles, I don't think it's that they won't. I think they're incompetent, okay, to be honest with you. I think they just don't know how to go about it. It is so badly run by Newsom and by Mayor Bass. Mayor Bass, she was in Africa during the fire. She knew the fire was starting to rage, and she decided to take a trip to Africa. These people they're just bad. You know, you talk about make America great again. They could never make America great again, but we are doing that. Congratulations, you found some interesting things, Tulsi. She's becoming a bigger and bigger star every day. She found a lot of good things. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. As we approach Labor Day weekend here, this is just such a great opportunity really to recognize your leadership as a true champion for working people. And I know we'll hear as we go around the table here how your focus singularly on putting the well-being and interests of the American people first is that common thread that we're seeing in your policies being implemented across your administration. For Odie and I, number one, our focus is and must always be making sure that our intelligence community is focused on our mission, keeping the American people safe, secure, and free. We're doing great work on this front. I'll point out our National Counterterrorism Center, led by Director Joe Kent, are working across different agencies with Homeland Security, DEA, FBI, and others to catch terrorists, both those who are trying to come into our country, those who may already be in our country. They are finding the worst of the cartel bosses and making sure that they're not able to continue to wreak havoc and terror in our communities. Secondly, Mr. President, you have charged me with the mission of finding the truth and telling the truth to the American people. And we've exposed some of the worst examples of the weaponization of intelligence in the last several weeks. I will continue down that mission and that path wherever it leads. Transparency, telling the truth, is what will drive true accountability for the American people who deserve nothing less. And lastly, Mr. President, all of us are charged with being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I've gone through a reorganization for ODNI that we've announced in the last week. We've cut nearly half of redundant, unnecessary functions within ODNI, saving taxpayers over $700 million a year. We will continue focusing on our core mission in keeping the American people safe, and appreciate your leadership and your focus on this most critical task.
And you've also found many bags of information. I think they call them burn bags. They're supposed to be burned and they didn't get burned, having to do with how corrupt the 2020 election was. And when will that all come out?
Mr. President, I will be the first to brief you once we have that information collected. But you're right, we are finding documents literally tucked away in the back of safes in random offices, in these bags and in other areas, which again speaks to the intent of those who are trying to hide the truth from the American people and trying to cover up the politicization that was led by people like John Brennan and James Clapper and others that have caused really immeasurable harm to the American people and to our country.
Great job. Thank you. We look forward to hearing it. The public looks forward. Thank you very much. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, everyone knows there's no stronger advocate for hardworking American families than you, sir. Thank you for the largest tax cut in American history for working families. The average family of four is going to save about $10,000 take-home pay more a year. And what we're seeing is an increase in the child tax credit, the increase in the standard deduction. Hardworking families are going to benefit from this bill, and small businesses. There's no bigger beneficiary than Main Street, because small business makes up 99% of all businesses in this country. I've traveled to nearly half of our states, 24 unique states. I've made 40 state visits. In fact, I was with our great vice president at a small business manufacturer in Georgia last week. I was with a trucking company in Ohio. I was in Michigan at a motorcycle manufacturer. The return of Made in America is going to be driven by small businesses, because 98% of all of our manufacturers in America are small and medium businesses, 600,000 factories that employ 5 million people. And as Secretary McMahon mentioned, this work-based learning that is going on in professional and trade schools is real. I've visited them from Utah to Maine to Georgia and seen this revolution in education happening. So small businesses need skilled labor. Now that you solve for inflation, for the taxes, every Democrat voted for a $4 trillion tax increase on the backs of hardworking Americans. And so you prevented that. And now we've got fair trade. And thanks to Administrator Zeldin, we're seeing deregulation. I mean, this diesel exhaust fluid crushed farmers and construction and other heavy industry. So rolling that back makes a real difference for small business. And your domestic economic agenda is amplified through small businesses, which is why small business optimism is above its 53-year average, finally. And so Main Street appreciates it. What Main Street wants now is a rate cut. They feel burdened by high interest rates. They would grow higher and expand more if they could, but the interest rates are really hurting them. And finally, I want to say thank you for your executive order on debanking. We're about to announce a major investigation on debanking. It happened to you and your family. It happened to me. It happened to thousands and thousands of Americans, and unfortunately, disproportionately on those that had conservative values, on Christians, on pro-life, on 2A businesses. And so we're going to be talking to the banks about that. The SBA operates the largest government business loan program in the federal government. We have a network of 5,000 banks. So we're going to be making sure that that never happens to anyone again.
Great job. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. Christy?
Well, Mr. President, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to work for you. And you committed when you ran for president to make America safe again. And today, the average family and individual that lives in this country is safer than they've been in years because of what you've done. We've got 3 months in a row now with 0 illegal aliens coming into this country. And I want to thank Pete and the Department of Defense for all of their help. They're down at the border with us still, helping us keep that border secure and make sure we know who's coming into this country. You've arrested and brought to justice hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens, of criminals that have perpetuated violence against American people. Sir, you've had 1.6 million people voluntarily go home to their home countries that were here in this country illegally. Because of your strong message and you enforcing the law, they
Okay, I'm shutting this down. I can't take any more. Bottom line is, a family of 4 saving $10,000 in taxes. A family of 2 does not save that. So, you know, a lot of this stuff is misleading, and I am not happy as a Trump voter where we are. We're not getting mass deportations. We're not getting the tax benefits that we should get. Our healthcare costs are out of control. Inflation is out of control. We're just not getting really anything. And this guy just sits here and brags about really essentially nothing. So anyway,